The success of the first series was extraordinary and beyond anything we'd imagined. I think that people just enjoyed something so original.
The thing with the first series was that it was a really exciting experiment. We just didn't know how it would go down. We did what we wanted.
After doing Top of the Lake 1, Jane and I realised that we could get a certain tone in drama that was unusual. We wanted to do more of that and see how far we could push that.
Go Skull, go John! That's an action graph.
The thought of making a second series was a bit devastating to begin with, because you really need to create an appetite.
She needed to find, with Jared Lee, her co-writer, the creative impetus behind the series. What story does she want to tell?
One of the ways Jane and I come up with stories is we listen to what our own concerns are. We noticed that we were talking about IVF, reproductive technology, and all of that, the can of worms that is.
The exploitation of poor women, and especially from different cultures like Asia.
What you do with your kids when they get to a certain age where you can no longer feasibly control them.
Once we got onto that, we sort of felt like we had stuff at stake.
Well, season 2 starts off with a lot of mystery. What's happened to Robin in the 4 years since we left her in New Zealand, and the explosive ending there with Al Parker. The Robin we meet is a very mysterious Robin. She's very vulnerable, way more vulnerable and kind of on edge than we'd seen her before. And I guess the series is about her wanting to dive right into work.
Work helps her. She's very focused and she's a super detective. And if she's focused on work, then she doesn't have to think about the pain of the past.
She's kind of thrown right into this case. And, you know, kind of in many kind of classic detective stories, the deeper she goes into the case, the deeper she delves into her own past and her own wounds.
She's haunted by the birth of her daughter when she was a 16-year-old girl, and she gave the baby up for adoption. We learn that in the first season, and this is unfinished business. And that takes us down a whole lot of roads around desire to have children, mothering. What does that mean? And that throws up a whole lot of questions.
We did a really good job with the first season, I felt. We were all very proud of it. And why do it again if we weren't going to challenge ourselves and to make it even more interesting for ourselves and for the audience? And so I said, I just want her to be challenged. She wrote this challenge that was much better than I could have ever thought of. It was a very complex challenge than I think you normally present a character in a second season. It was all the nuance, and it was all the detail, and it was all the strange Campion-esque things that go into something like this that surprised me and I loved so much. Her and Jared did such an amazing job.
It would have been very easy to do a second season and make it the same as the first and repeat that, and they've really pushed it into something else. I think it's going to be really surprising to people when they see it.
The story had moved on in a way that I couldn't have predicted. Much more complex, dark, funny, but also deeply profound. Exploring a topic that I don't think has really been explored in a TV show, and exploring it in Jane's inimitable way, which is a very unique voice, a voice you can't predict. And it's also the most darkly hilarious thing I've ever read, I think.